What's going on, y'all? Welcome back. It's us. Let's get productive. So, as you guys probably already know, I'm a huge fan of plugins and VSTs that are made by producers for producers. I think that's a very specific field as far as the plugin game goes, where creatives are making creative devices for other creatives. And so with that said, I Am a Music Mogul has come out with 2 new plugins that I really wanted to bring to this channel because I find myself using it a lot in my workflow, and I just thought it was something that you guys might like as well. So the first plugin is called Wavy, and the second plugin is called Wide. And we're gonna talk a lot about what these plugins can help you achieve, but I just needed to bring it to the channel because as simple as these plugins are, and they are simple, you'll see in a second whether it be the UI or just the functionality of the plugin, but as simple as they are, I think I Am Music Mogul really brought something to the table that sounds great. So enough talk, let's get right into it. Wavy, Wide, I'm Music Mogul. Let's see what this thing is all about. I'm gonna apply it to some songs and show you what this thing can actually do. Let's do it. So, as always, I have Logic queued up, and this is Wavy. Now, like I said before, there's 2 different plugins. There's Wavy and there's Wide. So we're gonna start off with Wavy. We're gonna go over the UI, and we're gonna talk about some of the functionality and what this thing can bring to your track. So, this is Wavy, a very simple UI, very small, very compact, just a few knobs on there, but those few knobs and that compact look works well for what this plugin provides. In this situation, you don't really necessarily need to be able to resize the plugin. It's fine at this size because for what it does, you don't really need it to be any bigger. You don't need to read a bunch of presets or anything like that. This size is perfect for these knobs and what this thing does. Right off the back, it's really cool looking, has kind of a retro but clean and bright look to it. I like the Wavy font. It looks a little graphic, a little bit like graffiti. I like the clouds in the background. It's a nice vibe to it, a nice feel, very simple, very clean looking. If you look right here in the center, we have the main knob here in the middle, which acts kind of like a mix knob between the other effects inside of this plugin. You have Swarm over here on the left. You have this filter knob, which is like your low pass filter, and you have this ignite knob or ignite switch up here. And I'm gonna go over what each of these things does, and the way I'm gonna do that is I'm going to apply it to one of the instruments that I have on this beat that I just did that is already queued up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually play the beat without any of the plugins, without any of these 2 plugins highlighted or on, and just so you can hear the beat and hear what it is we're working with. Then I'm gonna play you the instrument that we're gonna apply this to without anything on it, and then we're gonna go from there and see what we can do to this instrument with these plugins to kind of take things to the next level. So this is the beat without any of those effects on it. That's basically the beat right there. Now the instrument that I chose to add this plugin to is right here. It comes from the Heat Up VST. It's called Gutter Life, but it's a flute. So we're gonna add it to this flute instrument here. And we're gonna start off with the Wavy plugin. I'm gonna go over each of the effects in this plugin, and I'm gonna introduce them into the flutes so you can kind of hear what it does. So if you look over here where it says deep, you look over here where it says deep, and then you look over here on the right, it says vivid. Deep and vivid kind of do the same thing, but on opposite ends of the spectrum. So what deep does is it takes your mono polyphonic audio signal and it brings it down 1 octave. And what that achieves is it gives you a nice warmth and a little bit of bass to the audio signal that you're introducing this plugin to. What vivid does is it operates on the other spectrum, on the other side of that. It takes your polyphonic, your mono audio signal, and it takes it up 1 octave. So what you achieve by having vivid is adding a bit more brightness to whatever instrument that you're adding this thing to. So to give you a bit of an example, I'm gonna put the flutes on loop real quick. So that was the flutes without the Wavy plugin on it, and this is the flutes with deep. So I have deep right here clicked and highlighted, and as I adjust this mix knob, you're gonna hear me slowly start to introduce that deep effect into the audio signal. So just listen up. If you have headphones, throw your headphones on and just listen real quick. So as you can hear, whatever audio signal you introduce it to, it maintains that audio signal, but it kind of adds an extra layer of a lower octave of that audio signal, kind of like a duplicate, just to beef things up a little bit. Now, if you were to turn deep off and turn vivid on, it does the same thing, but it just does it an octave up instead of an octave down. So let's introduce vivid to that flute and see what that sounds like. Now in this case, because of the instrument that we're using this thing on, I actually think that vivid sounds better on the flutes than deep. Because of the type of sample that the flutes is, going too deep kind of makes it sound a little bit muddy, and you don't really want that for the flutes anyway. The vivid kind of brightens it up a little bit, and it helps it pierce through the track, and I like that. So we're gonna find a nice comfortable spot for vivid. All right, that sounds good. It just gave it a little bit more texture and brightness on those flutes. And then you can add, I'm gonna turn vivid off for a second and just turn space on so you can hear the type of reverb that's being added. So you can just click on space and listen to what space does. I really like the type of reverb that's used in space. And this is partially why I like plugins that are made by producers for producers, because I feel like they have a good ear for what it is that we want out of a plugin. In my opinion, it doesn't matter how simple the plugin is if your approach is spot on. And I feel like the type of reverb that was chosen for this thing, and you'll see when I add the ignite, which is kind of like a chorus effect, and when I add swarm, which is a delay effect, when you hear those effects as well working in tandem with the space reverb and the vivid knob on and the low pass filter on, you'll hear how you can take something very simple and make it sound really expansive, really bright and beautiful. And that's what we're trying to go for here. So my goal right now is to mix this space reverb with the vivid effect in a way that's not too over the top, but pleasing enough and different enough to take those regular flutes and make them sound a little bit, you know, interesting. So let's see what that sounds like. I think it sounds good right there. I think that's a nice natural but bright sound. So you can hear the flutes without the effect and with the effect. Now you can go over to the swarm knob over here on the left and add just a bit of delay. So swarm is just a delay knob. That's basically what it does. But the delay sounds really cool. So I'm going to turn the swarm up to a place that I find pleasing. And that sounds good right there. You don't want anything too over the top. Just want to sprinkle a little bit of sauce on that thing right there. We're going to add ignite, which is a chorus effect. The chorus effect using this thing is really cool. On all you got to do with Ignite is just turn the switch on. So this is the flutes with the swarm delay, space reverb, and vivid effect turned on, without the Ignite turned on. And this is the flutes with Ignite turned on. And if I want to, I can add a low pass filter on there a little bit. But in this situation, I don't really want to remove any of the highs. I kind of like to leave the highs in flutes because I like it to breathe. I like that airiness. So we're going to turn the filter back up. And in this situation, I'm going to turn Ignite off because I like how the flutes sound better without it. But I'll just play it again just so you can hear what it all sounds like. And I'll slowly turn the mix knob up so you can hear everything at max and hear what's happening effects-wise. And I'm turning it up now. I'll even turn deep on real quick. So let me play the flutes back really quick without this thing turned on, and then I'll play the flutes with this plugin turned on. So this is the flutes without anything that we just added to it. This is just the flutes by itself. And this is the flutes with the Wavy plugin turned on. And as you can hear, it adds a bit of brightness. It kind of expands the sound a little bit and gives it a much wider sound. And that's without the wide plugin that I'm about to show you guys in a second. But when you put these two things together, you can get a really interesting sound signature, a really interesting texture to your sounds. Very simple approach, very simple functionality, very simple UI. Everything about this plugin is very simple, but it does its job and it does it well. And I think that's why I find myself going to this plugin a lot. It doesn't do a lot, but what I notice is whenever I have a sound that sounds a little generic or it sounds a little dead, I can just throw this plugin on there, just like a little bit of seasoning, and it just kind of brightens it up and makes it, it just makes it sound really cool, makes it sound wavy. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there are gonna say you can just achieve this by using a reverb or using a chorus effect. You can achieve anything by using anything, but what I like is that I don't have to go through the trouble of going to those other effects and doing all of those things. I can just put this plugin on, turn one or two knobs, and get the instrument sounding the way I want it to sound. And I think that's where Wavy really shines. So yeah, that's Wavy. And we will play the beat really quickly with the Wavy plugin on the flutes and hear how it sounds. And that's the Wavy plugin. Now, Wide, the next plugin by a Music Mogul. I wanted to do these two plugins together in this review just because they kind of feel like they come as a package. I mean, you can buy them separately, but they work well together. Wide is even simpler than Wavy. Wide is specifically dedicated to widening that stereo field and giving you a much more expansive sound to whatever instrument you apply this thing to. We don't need to talk much about the UI. The UI is very basic. It's just a word that says wide with a blue graphic background. Even though it's simple though, it looks clean. It doesn't look cheesy. The knobs look really clean. The color is very vibrant and saturated. It looks good. Very simple UI. Right here in the middle, you have spread, which basically spreads your audio. That's pretty much where you're going to get your stereo effect happening. You have bass mono, and what this knob does is it basically cuts the effect off between certain parameters in regards to the hertz. Widening the bass on certain instruments and on certain sounds can kind of muddy up your track, and sometimes you want that kick drum and that 808 to remain in mono. You don't want to, like, you know, widen that sound too much and have it stereo. You want that kick and that bass to pierce through the track and knock right at you in mono. So adding an effect like this, say you added it pretty much to everything, you put it on your like master bus track and it was pretty much applied to all the instruments on that track and all the vocals on that track, the whole entire track. You may not want it to be applied to the kick drum. Well, instead of removing the kick drum off of that bus track, you can just go right here to bass mono and just turn it up to about, say, 100 hertz. And everything below 100 hertz is going to remain in mono and not be affected by this plugin right here. And the side boost just kind of gives that stereo feel on those sides. It just kind of boosts the velocity of it and makes it a little bit more punchy. So not only are you spreading that sound out, but you're boosting the sides up a little bit too to make it a little bit more in your face. So it is widening your sound, but it's also pushing your sound forward at the same time. Now what I'm gonna do is, for the sake of just showing you what this thing can do, I'm not gonna add the wide plugin to the flutes like I did with the last plugin. I'm gonna add the wide plugin to the whole entire song, because I think if I add it to the whole song, it'll be it'll stand out more and you'll really be able to hear what it is that it's doing to the whole song. So just to give you an idea, this is the beat without wide on. What we're gonna do is we're gonna slowly introduce the spread knob and kind of spread that sound out so you can actually hear what's happening to the song as I you know, turn up that spread knob. You can actually hear how the stereo field is becoming more and more expansive and those instruments are getting pushed out further and further to the side. Now again, like I said, this is not something that I would do typically on a song. I would not take the entire song and spread it out to all hell. But just to let you guys hear what it is that's actually happening using what the hell was that? Just to let you guys hear what it is that's actually happening using this plugin, I'm gonna add it to the whole song, including the drums and everything, so you can hear how everything gets spread out. So let's do it. As you can hear, I just turned the knob up to the max, to 100. And you can hear the drums. The drums kind of feel like they have a bit of a chorus effect on it right now. That's because of how much of that plugin is being added to those drums and how spread out that kick and that snare has become. It kind of feels almost like there's double of each of those things. It kind of really has a strong chorus effect happening on those lower frequencies, and that's not necessarily what a person would be going for. So that's why this thing is really cool, because I can now turn up the bass mono and tell this plugin where I want it to take effect and what parts of the audio signal I want to leave out of this plugin so it's not affected. So I'm gonna slowly turn this bass mono knob up, and hopefully we can kind of bring that kick and that 808 back into the center so it's punching straight forward right in the center and not being spread out all over the track. So this is the track playing, and I'm going to slowly introduce that bass mono. you have your headphones on, but you'll be able to, if you hear like right around 151 hertz, we kind of drew that kick drum back to the center. We drew that bass, that synth bass back into the center to kind of pierce through the center of the track. And everything above 153 hertz remained in stereo. And then what you'll do is you can turn up the side boost and kind of get rid of some of that reverb effect of the stereo field and kind of push things forward. You know, just push all that audio forward into the front of the song. So let's just turn up that side boost a little bit. So this is the track without wide on it. And this is the track with wide on it. Very simple plugin, only 3 knobs, just like the Wavy plugin. Very simple, only 3 knobs on that one too, but it gets you where you want to be every single time. I didn't think when I purchased these 2 plugins, I didn't think that it would be something that I'd be using all the time, but I find myself using wide and Wavy together on some kind of instrument almost every single time I make a beat. Wavy sounds amazing on bells. If you use a lot of bells in your trap, I don't know what it is with my mouth today. I'm saying weird shit. If you use a lot of bells in your tracks, Wavy sounds great on bells. This is the first time I've ever used Wavy on a flute. It sounds okay on the flute. I might not keep it on the flute. I don't think I like how it sounded on the flute too much. It sounds okay. But it sounds great on synth sounds. It sounds great on synth bass sounds. Sounds great on bells. Wavy sounds amazing on string instruments. Sounds great. And this wide plugin, when you use that along with the Wavy plugin, you get a really, really cool, really lush, really bright and smooth texture to your sound. So that's it, man. That was Wavy and wide. I do recommend you guys go and check that thing out. Anything you'd like to see me review on this channel, leave a comment down below and I will definitely check those plugins out and bring them to the channel as soon as I can. If you're new to this channel and you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you can stay notified anytime I drop a new video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.